大丈夫ですか？
こんにちは、先生。
おはようございます、先生。
こんにちは、先生。
はい、こんにちは。
おはようございます、先生。
じゃあこれちょっと注意しましょう。はい、では始めます。例、おはようございます。どうぞ。はい、オンラインの皆さん、おはようございます。
おはようござい
はい、ご
ます
ざいます、先生。
はい、おはようございます。Please remember to leave your videos on. どうぞ。はい、おはようございます。はい、では始めますね。So we'll start with a little bit of review of what we saw yesterday. I think we left off where we had to practice, right? We learned about some new E adjectives, some new NA adjectives. So we'll practice that a little bit. We'll do a little review. And then we will look at lesson 7, conversation. That's the first half. In the second half, we will start with lesson 8. We won't finish. Lesson 8 is pretty big. But we'll do the main grammar part today. That is, we'll start using some verbs. So you can review that over the week. And then next week when we come back, you'll feel a bit comfortable. Hi. So I'll share my screen and we'll start with a little bit of review. Shall we? Hi. First, the usual question. 今日は何月何日ですか？はい。5月ですか？6月
6月
Keep writing 7. I'm so sorry. I think I've skipped to 7. はい。6月
6月
2日ですね。
2日2日
2日ですね。今日は6月
6月
2日です。はい。あさっては何日ですか？あさって。6月3日ですか？3日は明日ですね。
4日です。
あさって、day after tomorrow ですね。あさっては6月4日です。はい。何曜日ですか？4日は何曜日ですか？月曜日ですか？火曜日ですね。はい。あさっては火曜日です。何曜日ですか？月曜日。で、今日は何曜日ですか？はい。今日は日曜日です。はい。Good. I hope you're getting more comfortable. Yes, you have to practice all the days of the week. Otherwise, we'll remember only nichiyobi when the time comes. So a little bit of practice for us to get started. I want you to, without looking at your book, tell me the words for these adjectives on the screen. Okay, if you can't understand it, I will just say it in English. This is a very spacious area. This is a very cramped area, right? So how do you say spacious? Yes? Close? A big room, a spacious room.
Hiroi.
Hiroi ですね。広い。広い and the opposite of 広い。狭い。そうですね。広い、spacious, 狭い, narrow or cramped. Great. Tall versus short? はい。
高い。
高い shortest? 低いですね。高い、低い。Sorry, it's down here. Yes. 高い、低い。ね。A tall table, a short table. はい。これは何ですか Can you guess? Yes. Many and few, right? Many and few. 何ですか多い and 少ない。ね。多い many in number. How can you say? The word for rose in Japanese is bara. And bara has a kanji, but it's a very, very complex kanji. Even Japanese people usually don't write bara in kanji. So sometimes when you have a super complex kanji, it's difficult even for Japanese people, they substitute it with katakana instead of hiragana. Very rare. Sometimes you might see this happen. So often bara is written in katakana. Okay? So if you want to say there are many roses, how would you say it? Will you say? No, right? We have to say bara ga oi desu. Bara ga oi desu. Or bara ga sukunai desu ne. はい、どうぞ。bara ga oi desu. Bara ga sukunai desu. Hi, what's the difference? Yes, thick versus a thin book. If you remember, there's a different adjective, right? Yes, very good. Atsui and usui. Fantastic. Atsui home, usui home. And lastly, the other two words for thick versus thin. Futoi and hosoi. Futoi ki, for example, it's a fat tree, a thick tree. Futoi ki, hosoi ki. Futoi, hosoi. 大丈夫ですか? Right. Now last one here. Yes, so this is somebody's house, and this is A's house, this is B's house. The distance is a lot, right? It's far. What is far? Far? Yes. Toi, closest. Toi, chikai. Toi, chikai. So if I want to say B's house is far from A's house. How can we say it? B さんの家は
A さんの家から
Yes.
遠いです。
家から遠いです。So you start with B さん。B さんの家は A さんの家から遠いです。どうぞ。So you have to think in Japanese, right? Don't go in the same order as English. A は B は A から遠いです。はい。大丈夫ですか? はい。Now we're going to practice also using some na adjectives that we have picked up. First, if you want to ask a question, what kind of? What is the question word? Hai. Donna. Right? Donna. So if you want to ask the question, what kind of flower is sakura? How can you ask the question? Sakura wa donna. The word for flower is hana. Ne. Sakura wa donna hana desu ka? And if you want to answer, it's a, yes, actually, you don't know this word. This is just an example. But it's a na adjective meaning pretty or beautiful. Dozo, you can read it. Kirei. Kirei na hana desu. It's a pretty flower. It's a beautiful flower. Kirei na hana. When you put a na adjective next to the noun, you have to add the na. Right? Kirei na. This is just an example. Let's try a couple, shall we? You want to ask, what kind of girl, right? What kind of child or female child is? Who is this person?
Kimura-san.
Kimura-san. You want to ask, what kind of girl is Kimura-san? Kimura-san wa donna hito? This child. Yes.
What?
Donna?
No, ko desu.
はい。木村さんはどんな女の子ですか? I use the kanji over here, but it's not important. You read it as ko, right? Yeah. どんな女の子ですか? And you want to answer, she's a kind girl. 優しいです or 優しい女の子です。優しい人です。優しい is nice, kind, considerate, and so on. One more. You want to ask, what kind of city is? どこですか? What is this place? Kyoto. Right, Kyoto. What kind of city is Kyoto? How can we ask? Kyoto wa donna? Very good. The word for city is machi. Kyoto wa donna machi desu ka? And you want to answer, it's famous. Ah, hi. The word famous is? Yume. Is it yume?
You may eat.
Yume. Both are elongated because the word yume in Japanese is a noun. It means dream. So yume, when you elongate it, that is famous. So you want to say it's a famous city. Kyoto wa yume na machi desu. Excellent. Yume na machi desu. Yes, that's how we use na adjectives. Often when we describe the noun directly, only then we have to add na. Otherwise, we can just say Kyoto wa yume desu. And that's also fine. Kyoto is famous. But if the person you're speaking to is not sure explicitly what is this word Kyoto, I've never heard of it before, then you want to be clear that it's a famous city. Who is this person? I've never heard this name. Oh, it's a famous artist or something like that. 大丈夫ですか? Okay. Towards the end of yesterday's class, I was telling you about, for the first time, we were looking at plain form and polite form, right? The difference between the two. And we're starting easy. See, everything in Japanese has plain versus polite. Nouns, adjectives, verbs, everything has plain and polite. We're starting only with adjectives now because we haven't done verbs yet. And nouns have a hack, so we'll learn that later. We're going with adjectives. So when you finish a sentence with an adjective, right, this is only in the case that you're finishing the sentence with the adjective. Because end of sentence is where desu appears or masu appears. Usually it's the end of the sentence that carries a lot of politeness with it. So when you finish a sentence with an adjective, it's plain if you don't have this, and it's polite if you do have this. This is what we were looking at yesterday. For na adjectives, it's polite if you use this. What is the plain form? Da. So desu becomes da over here. The main reason for this is na adjectives were not actually adjectives. Historically, they used to be nouns and then they transformed into adjectives. Yes?
Sensei, is it rare when they use the? Is it like very rare?
It's not rare so much as specific to situation. So if they're going to speak to their family or friends, they'll often speak in plain language, Japanese people. But if they're talking to people they're not that close with, then they're going to opt for polite language. So if you go to somebody's home and see them interacting with their family, you hear this quite often. If you watch anime or drama, you hear plain language quite often because it's often close people interacting with each other. But in real life, in a workplace, in college, when you talk to your professor, all of those situations usually mean polite language. So it's not rare, but it is rare for a foreigner because they're always going to be polite with us. It's a good question. Hi. So E adjectives are considered pure adjectives. So they have this ability to stand on their own, basically. That's why at the end of a sentence, even without da, they can complete the sentence. You're adding desu only for the purpose of being polite. Otherwise, it doesn't need anything. Non-adjectives, on the other hand, they need something to lean on. They cannot stand independently. That's why when you put it next to a noun also, you have to add na. It cannot be on its own. So when you finish a sentence also, it cannot end without this da. So desu serves two purposes. In na-adjective case, it's polite also, and it's ending the sentence. Since benri, being a na-adjective, cannot end the sentence, desu in plain language loses its politeness, but retains the function of ending the sentence, which is why it takes the shape of da. Plain version, that is ending the sentence for na-adjectives. This is the same rule that we apply for nouns. Watashi wa gakusei desu. Plain form would become watashi wa gakusei da. Gakusei da. End of sentence. I'm not being polite, but I cannot end the sentence with just a noun. Nouns cannot stand like that. So we're adding da at the end. We'll come back to nouns. You don't have to know this. I like to tell students in advance because when it happens later, you won't be confused. Often, if you watch things like anime and drama, you will hear people speaking like this whenever they use nouns. Hi. Now, speaking of plain and polite, we're going to quickly just do a little practice, switching things from plain to polite form, polite to plain form. So I want you to read the adjective, tell me what it means in English, and then put it in plain form. Hi, dozo.
Atarashi.
Atarashi desu, meaning
New. It's new.
new. What's the plain form? Just atarashi. Hi, dozo.
Furui desu. Old.
Furui. What does it mean? Furui desu? Old. Right. And the form is furui. That's it. Furui. Kono tatemono. This building. Wa furui desu. Semai desu means narrow or cramped. Plain form is? Sumimasen. Opposite. Semai. Just semai, ne? When I move stuff around on the PPT, I sometimes forget to change things. Hi. E desu. What does it mean? Good, right? And the plain form is? Just E. E. Just E. Warui desu. Warui desu. What nan desu ka? Warui is? If this is good, yes. This is bad. Chigaimasu is wrong. Warui desu is bad. What is the plain form? Warui. Oi desu. What does it mean? Many in number, right? Plain form is? Just oi. And the opposite of oi? Sukunai desu. Sukunai desu. Plain form is? Just sukunai. Just sukunai. You don't need the desu. All ikeyoshi cases, you're just going to drop the this. Hi. Sumimasen, this is supposed to pop up later. This is? This. Plain is? What does that mean? Long, right? Long. You're talking about horizontal length. Opposite is? Mijikai desu, meaning? Short. Plain form? Mijikai. Hi. これは何ですか? 漢字ね。What kanji is that? Big, right? What's the word for big? Okay, so the reading of this kanji is oh. The key comes afterwards. Okay, this. Plain form is okay. Chisai this, meaning small. Plain form is chisai. Now you want to try to make a sentence, right? My smartphone is new. Watashi no
Watashi wa sumo wa atarashi desu.
Hi. Watashi no sumaho. You can also say mobile, denwa. There's lots of words. Watashi no sumaho wa atarashii desu. It's a plain sentence or polite sentence? Polite sentence. How about a plain sentence? You want to say, elephants are large. Do you know the word?
Watashi no.
Watashi no? No, you don't need to own the elephant. It's just a regular elephant. The word for elephant is zo. Zo. Hi. Elephants are big. Zo wa?
Oki desu.
Okay. That's it. Simple as that. Zo wa? Okay. This. Zo is elongated. Right? It's a O sound elongated with U. Zo wa? Okay. This.
Sensei,
Hi. Those.
the elephant name is actually it's in Takana, but the name is actually a Japanese word, right?
This is the Japanese word. Kore wa hiragana desu.
Mm.
Daijoubu.
Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You want to say, supermarkets are convenient. Supermarket to wa? Konbini. Konbini is also fine. There are two different words. Super is the short form of supermarket. Konbini is the short form of convenience store. Yes, they're slightly different. Convenience stores are, as the title suggests, extremely convenient. You can actually get so many things, and they tend to be 24/7. Yeah, 24 hours. That's the specialty. Japanese people love their convenience stores. So, super or convenience store, whichever one you want to take. Wa? Benri desu. Benri desu. Hi. And the plain form of benri desu is benri da. What about これは何ですか？有名ですね。日本のコンビニは有名です。ね、Japanese convenience stores are famous. How do you make it plain? 有名だ。ね、有名だ。これははい。We'll come to that in the next slide. 上手。上手です means famous? You know it's famous, right?
Skilled.
Yes. Skilled, talented, skilled at something. So in plain language, if you want to say, Ashok is good at Japanese language. Ashok-san wa Nihongo ga Jozu. Plain language. Jozu da. Ashok-san wa Nihongo ga jozu da. In this case, probably Ashok is your age or younger than you. You can use plain language when you talk about him or when you talk to him. My town is famous. How can we say? Watashi no machi wa? Excellent. It's polite. So you can say yume desu. As I was saying earlier, we have this convenience stores are convenient. Sounds funny in English. How do you say it in Japanese? Konbini wa convenient. Benri. Benri da. Konbini wa benri da. Convenience stores are convenient. Benri desu. Benri is convenient. Yume famous. Jozu skilled at. Yes. So if you want to use it, hi, dozo. Yes, yes, please.
Do people prefer more plain language or they prefer polite?
It depends on where you are. So if you're talking to someone who's like a friend, your age or younger than you, plain language is fine. But if you're talking to someone older, Japanese people believe a lot in showing respect. So it's better to use polite language if they're older than you, they're in a higher position than you, like a teacher or something. Or if you're like in working place, then anybody who's your boss or your superior, it's better to use polite language. So some people, they like plain language all the time. And they will tell you that, oh, why are you being so polite? We can be casual, no? They may ask you, after that, you can be casual if you want. But it's always better to start with polite, work your way to plain if that person is okay or comfortable. Never start directly with plain, right? Because it may put them off. But we're all foreigners to Japanese people. They won't misunderstand you if you use plain language by accident. If you're a Japanese person, then they would get upset or disturbed. But you're a foreigner, they may not expect you to understand the difference between plain and polite language. But for Indians, it's familiar, right? It's the difference between using niva po and ninga vanga ponga. So it's the same thing. If you want to be polite, it's better to stick with masu, desu, and all. The reason we're learning plain is we'll be using plain to make other forms of things in later lessons. So you have to know this in order to build your grammar of Japanese. But you may not actually use it in real life all that much. Sorry, that became a long answer. Is it okay? Hi. Hi, dozo. Hi, that's exactly the question you also had. It's a good question. I'll be coming to that in the next slide. So we'll see how to tell e-adjective and na-adjective apart right after this. A couple more sentences. And you have to make this sentence. This place is a convenient shop. Koko wa benri na. The word for shop is mise. So you want to say it politely. Koko wa benri na mise desu. Yes, koko wa benri na mise desu. If you were to be plain with this is a noun that you're ending the sentence with. The adjective is not coming at the end of the sentence. So bendi cannot become plain. The thing that has to become plain is the noun. We can, since I taught you, you can say da instead for plain language. Koko wa bendi na mise da. Also, sometimes people say omise. Again, just to be respectful. Omise. Omise can be both shop and restaurant. Like we say kadai in Tamil, even for like restaurants, right? Places where you can eat. They use omise for places where you can eat also. Hi, hi, dozo.
Instead of this place is convenient shop, the shop is convenient, we can say that.
Yes, of course.
We say wa benri da.
Yes. Kono mise wa benri da. Kono mise wa benri desu. That's also fine. Yeah. This is more literal translation that has more or less the same meaning. We already know this one, just to recap. Tokyo is a famous city. Tokyo wa yume na Tokyo wa yume na machi desu. Yume na machi desu. Tokyo, right? It's elongated. Both this O, ho, and kyo. They're actually elongated sounds. We'll be learning the kanji soon. So now coming to this very important point. I'm sure all of you are wondering, how do I know if it's e-adjective or na-adjective? Right? So I'll show you a pattern. Yes? Previous slide?
So here, for this place you are using it is cocoa, right?
Right.
So there is another word for place, dokoro.
Kokoro. In that case, kokoro. Yes, you can say that. Kono tokoro wa bendi na omise desu. But it's a bit long-winded, right? It's a longer word. It's easier to say this. So naturally, people would prefer koko. This is not wrong, though. You can say it. So the pattern for E adjective versus na adjective, actually, it's not the E that you have to see. It's the sound before E. The last sound before E, the penultimate sound. Hi, Dozo, please read it. What does it say? Chisai.
Chisai.
Now the sa, which vowel is it? Ah. Ne. I-U-A-O. It will be one of these five. It's A. Ne. How about the next one? Muzukashii.
Muzukashii. E. Muzukashii.
So, chisai a, muzukashii I. Dozo. Ikui. Ikui.
Ikui.
Ne, U sound, right? Before E, it's a U sound. And, hai dozo.
Omoi.
Sound, right? Omoi. Mo.
Moi.
Anytime before the last E, if you have one of these four sounds, it will be an E adjective. If you have an A sound before the E, for example, yumeda. You take the E, before the E you have a sound. Or here's another one, we just saw it in the beginning. What is it? Yes, kire is pretty,
Kire.
clean. So Japanese value cleanliness so much, they have the same word for clean and beautiful. So kire da, again it ends with the E, but the sound before E is an A sound. Actually what this means is that this E is not an E at all, it's an elongation of the A sound. Whereas in all the other cases, it is an independent E sound, right? It stands separately as an E sound. Here alone, it's not actually E at all. It's elongating the A. Yume, kire. It's not kirei, yumei. We don't say it that way, right? So in such cases, you can be sure that it's a na adjective. Lastly, anything that does not end with a separate E, there's no E, right? Ben ri, there's no separate E afterwards. Jozu, there's no E afterwards. Anything that ends like that has to be na adjective. I mean, as long as it's an adjective. If it's a noun, it can't be. But that's the main differentiation between E adjective and na adjective. There are exceptions to this rule, but there are very, very few exceptions. In CJAT 5 or N5 level, you have only one exception. You can learn it right away. Till 20th lesson, you won't learn another exception. The exception is kirai. What is that before E? A sound. So by pattern, it should be E adjective, but it's not. Kirai is a na adjective. So just make a note of that one exception. There are very few in the Japanese language altogether. This is one of the few. Kirai da. Kirai na something. Kirai means dislike. We will learn how to use this when we also learn how to talk about like. That is things you like, your favorite things. The word for like is suki desu, suki, suki desu, suki da. Suki is also a na adjective. Kirai is also a na adjective. So you can remember them as a team. Yes?
Any other
Any other letters? Anything that's not E. E sound. There's no separate E afterwards. In all of these, there will be a separate E. E, only E by itself, without any consonant sound. Just the plain vowel sound E. Whereas here, there's no extra E afterwards.
We are adding the E, right? The hiku. We can finish it like hiku.
No, we can't. As long as that E is there, it's an adjective. When we remove the E, it's no longer an adjective. That E is what makes it an adjective. It's the character, it's the identity.
E only, there are those four sounds at the end, right? A, E, O. Here, hiku ends with E. So for that E sound only, we are saying that it is a E adjective.
Hi.
So, but also Benri also ends in E. So why can't we add for that E sound E as a adjective?
So what we're using this for is, don't think of it as you making that word adjective. It is already an adjective. When you see it like this, you know it's an E adjective. When you see it like this, you know it's an Na adjective. So you don't think of it as making it an adjective. It's actually the other way around. When we drop the E, we make it a noun. Naturally, it is an adjective. So when you see it in a sentence, how do you know if it's E adjective or Na adjective? That's the point of this. So don't think of it as adding E to hiku. This is a set. They're a team. You can remove the E for some purpose, but hiku is not the base. Hikui naturally is the E adjective word.
So color, how does the color works? Ao.
So ao is the noun form.
We add.
Aoi is an adjective form. It's the way you use it in a sentence that differs. Actually, original is the adjective form. The noun was derived from that. You can think of it that way. Otherwise, it gets confusing. Yeah. So don't think of it as adding E. If anything, we're only going to subtract E. Daijoubu desu ka?
So,
Daijoubu
Sensei.
Hai, dozo.
So is all adjectives E adjective? Sorry, is all colors E adjective?
Most colors, but for example, Midori is not E adjective. So there are some exceptions, but many of them tend to be E adjectives.
Oh, okay.
E. Hi, dozo. Go ahead. Any other questions? E adjectives, Na adjectives, is it okay for now? Hi. Yes. So before we go on, we're going to take a small break from the PPT. And the next step is read through the conversation, right? So please take out your textbook. Before we actually read, I'll just go through the other material. Yes, I hope everyone online can see what I've shared. Is it visible?
Hi, Sensei.
Hi, lesson Nana. Lesson 7. We learned the kanji yesterday. So I hope you take some time this week to review the kanji. A quick recap. I want to do this because yesterday we just saw it. Can you tell me what each kanji means in English? The first one.
Name.
Name.
Now,
Now. Ima. Hi.
right,
Right. Right hand side. Migi.
in front,
In front,
My. Great.
back,
behind, above,
How do you, which is the one that means back here? Behind.
Second.
shit,
Ushiro. Ushiro. Back or behind. You already know this one. Tree or
kuruma, car,
hi. Car or kuruma. And the last one is
midori, left,
left. Hidari or
Hidari.
great. Those are excellent. So over here, you just have a summary of some of the things we saw in the lesson. It was a recap of koso ado using ga particle instead of wa particle. Right? Kochira ga so and so this. Koko ga so and so place this, and so on. So using ga particle with koso ado, and then we have the new adjectives, and then we have na adjectives and the direction words. I think there was a question yesterday, I think some about this hyphen, the use of this hyphen. Actually, that's a typo. There should be a hyphen there. There was one word that didn't have a hyphen in lesson 6.
Right.
Yeah, nagai on page 45. It should have. The hyphen is just there so you can tell that it's an E adjective. So na adjectives won't have E after the hyphen. They'll have na after the hyphen. It's just for your knowledge. There's, yes.
Nagai, if I remove the E, Naga means long.
Naga has to be used a different way. We cannot use just naga. So not all E adjectives become nouns when you remove the E. That's kind of special. So don't apply that as a blanket rule.
How we will be able to know that?
Mostly you just pick it up with vocabulary. There is something there you can do, remove the E and add something. You learn that in N4 level. And it becomes a noun even if it doesn't have a noun form. So that's just one small note there. This hyphen, just for you to know it's E adjective or na adjective, you don't have to write with the hyphen. Yes, please omit it when you write. So let's quickly read these very important hyogen. I. So this is something new. You may already know it though. What is it? Genki desu ka?
Ogenki desu ka?
As usual.
Ogenki desu ka?
O is for respect. Genki means healthy or energetic. Actually, genki da. Genki is an adjective. You can make a note somewhere. Maybe you can add it somewhere in this list. It comes in your textbook later, but I'm telling you now because it came up, right? So, genki na. Genki na is a na adjective meaning healthy or energetic. So this question, o genki desu ka? You ask someone, are you well? How are you? But it's something, a greeting that you use only when you meet someone after a long time. So you haven't seen them since your graduation. It's been 3 or 4 years. You meet them after a long time, say, konnichiwa, o genki desu ka? Have you been well? Are you keeping well? We don't ask o genki desu ka if somebody looks unwell. Like just because they don't look well, we don't ask that. It's more like a casual, how have you been? How are you doing? That kind of thing. So, o genki desu ka? Are you well? How are you? And the answer to that.
Okage.
Hi.
Okage sam.
Okage-sama de.
Okage sama de.
Actually, you can always answer, hi, genki desu. You can say, yes, I'm well. That's fine. This is a more respectful and polite answer. Okage means thanks to you. So okage-sama is that respective term, right? Respectful term. San, sama. So okage-sama, you, thanks to you. And there's, we'll learn this later on. It's a particle, it's some grammar. Okage-sama de is like, thanks to you, I'm keeping well. Thanks to you, your relationship in my life, whatever. It can be anything. It sounds like an exaggeration. That person may not have much to do in your life at all, but it's a very polite thing to say. Yes. So if somebody says, o genki desu ka? Okage-sama de. Genki desu yo. I'm well. Hi. Demo. What is it? Domo. It's the domo. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Sometimes people just use this short form. Domo. Thank you. They also say domo to mean sorry sometimes. Like you lightly bump into someone, domo, sumimasen, something like that. And demo. Demo is but, right? It's the conjunction. In English, we can use it in 2 ways. In one sentence. Sentence 1, but 2. We're actually combining 2 sentences into one. Right? I like bread, but I don't like sandwiches, for example. It's 2 sentences. You're joining them with but. Another way that you use it in Japanese is you finish a sentence and you start the next one with but. Technically, in English, you're not allowed to do that. You're not supposed to start a sentence with but. But here we do that very often. You say something like an afterthought. You think of some contrasting idea. You add it afterwards. So I like, I'm a Japanese language student. Watashi wa nihongo no学生です. Demo, Japanese is difficult. How can I say it? Nihongo wa難しいです. Eh? Oh, yasashi desu, but then it won't be a contrast. I'm a student, but still, it's difficult. You're adding it as an afterthought. That's the only way we use demo. It's never joining two sentences. Is it okay? There is a way to do that. Yes?
Domo means thank you. So how will we be using domo arigato gozaimasu? Is it a thank you?
You can use the whole thing if you want. It's the most respectful way to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Basically, like arigato gozaimasu is thank you. If you're adding this, it's like very much.
And also, gomenasai means I am sorry, right? What's the difference between gomenasai and using domo? Sorry.
You also have sumimasen. So 3 options for apologizing: gomennasai, sumimasen, and domo. Of these 3, domo is kind of the lightest. So if you really have to apologize, don't use domo. It's not that it's casual, but it's like you didn't do anything big. It wasn't a really big problem, but you're just being polite and apologizing anyway. That's domo. Sumimasen is the heaviest and most formal of the cases. So try to use that if it's a formal situation. Gomennasai is a little less formal. It's a little casual. You can use it among friends, family, and things like that. But in a really formal situation, you can opt for sumimasen. There's something even more polite than that. You'll learn it in the next levels because it has to do with very complex grammar. Hi. 大丈夫ですか?
大丈夫です。
はい。では、so we saw the... はい。どうぞ。どうぞ。Yes. So we'll quickly look at some new vocabulary. Only the ones that are really new over here, right? はい、どうぞ。Apartment. Apartments. This is very important. Can you please read that?
いかがですか？
いかが
ですか？
or
どうですか？
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 They both mean the same thing. The first one is the more respectful, honorific form. The second one is the more everyday language. It's so polite. There's desu. This is also polite. This is more polite, more respectful. And you can use it in 2 ways. You can ask someone, how is it? How do you find it? Like if somebody gets a new apartment, you want to ask them, hey, how's your new apartment? アパートはどうですか? 新しいアパートはどうですか? If you want to be more respectful, 新しいアパートはいかがですか? Somebody has just joined a new class, right? A Japanese class. 日本語のクラスはどうですか? いかがですか? So you're asking them how they find it. What's their opinion on something? And it's also used by shopkeepers. When you go to a shop, you want to buy something. And they notice what all you're buying, and they'll be like, how about you get this also, right? Or you're buying pens, how about this eraser? How about this pencil? They try to throw in new things, right? They use this for that too. Yeah. So you show some interest in something. Oh, you like this mouse. Ikaga desu ka? Would you like it? You want to buy it? So they use this ikaga desu ka or do desu ka in a shopping situation also. Over here, we won't see that. We'll see it in the next lesson. Here, it's more like 2 friends talking to each other, asking how things are. Hi. So I mentioned this. 何ですか? I'll just scroll down. Yes, super. And of course, the full form is supermarket. Very long. So super, supermarket. Hi, you already know this. Just to recap. Otearai. What does it actually mean?
Hand wash.
Yes, very good. Arai means wash, te means hand. Otearai, hand wash. Hi, this is new. Uke is reception, right? The reception area of a hotel or any building for that matter. Uketsuke is the place. Uketsuke no hito is the person in charge of the reception. In In other words, the receptionist. Right? Uketsuke no hito. Of course, you know ima. Dozo. Try to read this. Jugyo. What is that? So it's actually a compound word. So you're going to use onyomi. Jugyo, chu. So this ju and gyo also have kanji. You just don't know it yet. Jugyo means class, lesson, or lecture. So jugyo is the class itself. It's not the place. Heya de wa arimasen. Kyoshitsu no koto de wa arimasen. It's not about the room. It's about the thing itself, the teaching that's happening. So jugyo, oh, I have a lesson at 1 o'clock. I have a class at 3 p.m. That's jugyo. So jugyo itself is the class. Jugyo chu means you're in the middle of class. You're in the midst of class. So somebody gives you a phone call, you have to cut it, and you can text them and say, Sumimasen, ima jugyo chu desu. Right now I'm in the middle of class. I cannot attend. So that chu over here, it's a suffix. It means in the process of, in the middle of. You can add it to various activities. Right now, you don't have to try it. Later on, you will get the vocab. For example, driving. The word for driving is unten. So untenchu desu. I'm in the middle of driving. So I'm in the process. I can't attend my phone. Hi.
But in last lesson, you used a chu in a junior high school.
Chu.
Why is it not pronounced as chu?
Yes. That is middle school. Or you mean jugyo chu?
Chu means junior high school, right?
Yes.
Junior high school is also means middle school.
Middle school, it's the same thing. Some people call it junior high school, some people call it middle school. It's the same thing. Hi. Where I was in America, they called it middle school. But in some places, they prefer saying junior high. I think it's just where you are. Hi. What do you want? Kono aida. Ne, kono aida. Aida means period or duration. Not duration so much as the in-between time of something. That's why I say period. It's like a thing. So kono aida, it's a little bit complex expression. Japanese people mean, by kono they mean in the near past. Close to now, just the other day we met. That is kono aida. The period of time that you spent with me very recently. That is kono aida. So sometimes when you meet a person regularly for some work, right? You are working in an office, you meet a client, and you meet the client on Monday and then you meet them again on Friday. It's a very common thing in Japan to say, kono aida wa domo. Kono aida wa arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you for the other day. Okay? Thank you for your time the other day. It's a kind of fixed way of expressing gratitude for repeatedly meeting someone. They gave you their time of day. We'll see that. We'll see that in the conversation. Of course, I think you know all of these. This is a new E adjective. Dozo. Urusai.
Urusai. Urusai.
Something you often hear in anime, especially female characters say this often. I don't know why. Urusai means noisy. So they believe, they say it when they want someone to shut up. You're being loud, keep it quiet. Urusai desu yo. So it means noisy in a very negative way. You're criticizing someone for being loud. Japanese culture, generally, they like things quiet, right? So we have to keep our volumes down. Urusai is an E adjective. So urusai desu, polite form. Urusai, plain form. You may also often hear it in the sense of annoying. What it really means is you're being noisy and it's annoying. I can't stand it. So it's a very negative word. We'll try not to use it as far as possible. Hi. I mentioned a word for very yesterday, right? You can attach it to any adjective. Totemo, Totemo. The word for hot is atsui. Atsui. Chennai wa totemo atsui desu. Totemo atsui. Now, similar to totemo, you can attach totemo to adjectives. You have this word takusan. Takusan means a lot. It's an adverb, so you can attach it to verbs. It means to do that verb in great numbers, in a large quantity. So, for example, you want to say there are a lot of chairs in the room. Kono heya no naka ni isu ga takusan arimasu. You add it before arimasu to indicate there's a lot. Takusan arimasu. You can use it with other verbs too. For example, yesterday I ate a lot for dinner. The verb for eating is tabemasu. We'll say it very soon. Or I eat a lot every day. On a regular basis, I eat too much. Takusan tabemasu. I eat a lot. So you're doing this action in large number in some way. Then I think we know the other words. Kotoba wa daijoubu desu ka? Shall we go into the conversation? Hi. So just like last time, I'm going to request speakers, one person from the audience here and one person online, so that we can read together. But first, let's just read the title of the conversation. Hi. Tanaka-san to Suzuki-san. Tanaka-san to Suzuki-san. Miss Tanaka and Mr. Suzuki. So they happen to be meeting after a long time, catching up with each other. So it's a conversation between two Japanese people that we're about to read. Hi. Hi. So to get started, hi. I'd like a volunteer. I think maybe you can take up the first 3 lines. Somebody who did not read last time. I think this should be good. So I want to volunteer in person for Suzuki and somebody online for Uketsuke. Yes, somebody in person for Suzuki. I think you read last time, right? So I'll ask, did you read last time? Hi. You were not here yesterday also, right? Would you like to try? Hi, great. So you can be Suzuki-san. Can I have a volunteer from online for Uketsuke who did not read last time? Or I'm just going to call out a name. Karthik-san, did you read last time?
No, Sensei.
Hi, great. So could you volunteer for Uketsuke-san?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Deva. 1 second, I'll just give you the mic. どうぞ。
すみません。こちらに田中さんはいますか?
Hi, Karthik-san, you can continue.
Okay. 今、状況、
How do we do this?
That's actually Naka, right, son? Naka des.
Yeah, we'll be using the onyomi here.
Okay.
Because Jugyo also has kanji.
Okay.
そうですか。あのトイレはどちらですか?
Hi, Karthik-san.
Ateari wa achira des.
Hi, great. ありがとうございます。ありがとうございました、Karthikさん。お疲れ様です。はい、so let's look at just this portion, right? Suzuki-san, what's your first saying? Excuse me?
Which person is Tanaka?
こちらに田中さんはいますか? Yes. Is Miss Tanaka here in this place? Right? Because it's marked with me, you know, it's a location. In this place, Miss Tanaka, is she there? Right? Does she exist here? Then what is the ukitsuke saying? Ima,
Ima.
jugyo,
Jyokyo.
to this. What do they mean?
Yes.
She? Yes. She's in a class, right? She's in the middle of a lesson. What does Suzuki-san say? So desu ka? Ano? Toire wa? So this ano, it's like a buffer, right? You're not saying ano toire. It's not a pointing thing. It's a buffer thing that before a Japanese person asks a question, they don't want to be blunt. So it's like a soft way of asking a question, a way of working up to your question. You know, something like that. So, I'm sorry, but toire wa doko desu ka? Dochira desu ka? Where is the restroom? Right? So, is that so? Where's the restroom? What does the uketsuke say? Ote arai wa? Achira desu ne. Great. So, it fell off. Keeps falling. So, can I have volunteers for the next portion? Suzuki-san and Tanaka-san, maybe the next 3 lines. I think maybe Suzuki-san, somebody can take up this also. Yes. Hi. I read last time or not? No, you didn't. Okay, you go first. I have to learn your names. Please, I think I'll take a minute after this to get names. Online? Manju-san, imasu ka? Hi, Manju-san? I'm not able to hear you. I think you need to fix your mic, so maybe you can fix and get back to me for the next slide. Gokul-san, imasu ka? Are you there?
Right.
Hi, Gokul-san, can you take up Tanaka-san's lines?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Hi. Suzuki.
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
Gokul-san,
Suzuki-san, こんにちは。
こんにちは。この間は、どうも。
小田さんおきですか
はい。おかげさまで、新しいアパートはいかがですか？
いいところですよ。木が多いところで、近くにないいや有名なスーパーもあります。
はい、ありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。Hi, that was good. Very good reading. All right, so let's get back here. So Suzuki now knows where the restroom is. What does he say?
I understand.
Wakarimashita ne? I got it. I understood. And? Thank you, right? Thank you very much. Now, Tanaka-san has come out from class and she sees Suzuki-san. What does she say? Konnichiwa ne? Good day. And Suzuki-san, of course, replies with
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa and Kono aida wa domo. What does it mean? Yes. Thank you so much for the other day, right? Maybe she did some favor for him. He's just expressing his gratitude. And then she asks, "O genki desu ka?" What does that mean? How are you? Right? How have you been? Ne? And he says, Okage-sama de. Thanks to you, I've been well. And Atarashi apato wa ikaga desu ka? How is your new apartment? How do you find it? So you can see Suzuki-san is actually being very respectful towards Tanaka-san. He starts by thanking her, and then he uses ikaga. It's more respectful. So even from just things like this, you can understand their relationship. She must be senior to him or superior to him in some way, that he's kind of being so respectful. If they were just friends, he wouldn't bother with that, right? You'll see that in a later lesson, lesson 16. We'll see a casual conversation between Tanaka-san and Hayashi-san. They would be friends. Oh, hi.
Okay.
Daijoubu desu ka? Hi. So now, Tanaka-san says, "Ii kokoro desu yo." What does it mean? A good place, right? E is good, kokoro is place. It's a good place, you know. She's trying to emphasize, oh, it's really good. I like it. Ki ga oi tokoro. What does that mean? Oi.
There are many trees.
Yes. I know oki and oi are easy to confuse. Ki ga oi. Trees are many. It's a place where trees are many. Ki ga oi tokoro de. It's a place with lots of trees and chikaku ni yumei na supa mo arimasu. What does that mean?
There is a famous supermarket nearby.
Very good. Yumei na supa. A famous supermarket. Chikaku ni. So ni is marking a location. Chikaku is the noun form. It's becoming a place, right? Nearby, there is also a famous supermarket. So she's talking about all the conveniences of her new place, right? It's lots of trees. There's a convenient supermarket. It's a very nice place, right? The next portion, though, you're going to see that she's going to list out some negatives of her location. So actually, Tanaka-san's lines are the bulk here. So Suzuki-san, that's the end of the conversation. So I'd like somebody for the last two lines of Suzuki and someone for the last couple lines of Tanaka-san. Hi. Suzuki-san? Hi. And online, I would like a volunteer for Tanaka-san. A little tricky, but I think you can try. Hi. 誰に聞きましょう。はい。Mohammad Arshad-san?
Hi, sir.
Hi, sir. Can you, Mohammad-san, will you be able to read?
Tamo.
Not just yet. I'll ask to read Suzuki-san's line first, and then you can start.
Okay.
Hi. 1 second. Just pass it.
Bentrina dokoro desu ne.
Hi, Mohammed-san, you can continue.
Domo. Domo iri. Iru. Sorry. Irusai desu. Ano. Ano ni ha. Niwa. Imiya. Nujuha. Takas. Neko. Neko. Takusan. Takusan. Imasu. Takusan. Imasu. Kuruma mo. Mamo. Oi. Oi. Desu. Susukumo. San. Suzuki-san no. Oi. Shiko. Siri. Desu ka. Do desu ka.
うちは狭いです。でも、ミキがそばで、前が銀行です。
Suriha. Soreha. Henry. Henry Desu no. Desuni. Desuni.
はい、ありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。Thank you. Hi. Now, we'll parse the last bit, right? So we were here. Nearby, there's a convenient, famous supermarket. Suzuki-san says, 便利なところですね。What does it mean? Convenient place, isn't it? But Tanaka-san has all these negatives to say. She says, でも、うるさいです。But it's noisy. Exactly. But it's noisy. あの辺には犬や猫がたくさんいます。Meaning? There are lots of dogs and cats. あの辺には。What's that? あの辺。辺は何ですか？エリア。ね。あの辺 That area. Right? Far from speaker and listener. Where they now is far from her home. So in that area, this ni particle is the same ni particle, right? To exist. The wa here is also the same wa particle. It's making it the topic. Speaking of that topic, there are many dogs and cats that exist in that location. There's lots of animals, right? What else does she say? Kuruma mo oi desu. Hai. Dozo. Kuruma mo oi desu. There's also lots of cars. Then she changes the subject. What does she ask? Ouchi wa? Do desu ka? Your house, Suzuki-san, your house. How is it? So she doesn't use ikaga. It's so respectful. He used it for her, but Tanaka-san's not using it for Suzuki-san. She's still being polite, right? Desu, ouchi, san, all that is there. But she's not going that one extra step to be respectful. It shows maybe that she's superior to him in some way. Probably older or senior to him. He says, uchi wa semai desu. What does it mean? Yes. My house is cramped. Cramped, not very spacious. Not a lot of space. Demo, migi ga super de, mae ga ginkou desu. What does that mean? Right side is supermarket. And in front, there's a bank. So right to the right side of my house, I have a supermarket, and in front I have a bank. He uses demo because semi is an but these are positive points, right? It shows some contrast. It's a small place, but at least a convenient place, right? I have a lot of things nearby. Sore wa benri desu ne. Oh, that's convenient then. Hai, dozo. Hai. Uchi wa? Inu ya.
If we use ya means we must use nado.
Nado is not compulsory when you use with ya. You can use it. It's like saying, etc. But just using ya also implies that you're giving a inexhaustive list. So you don't have to use nado every time. But often people use it together. It's not compulsory. It's a good question.
Can you go in that part?
If only these animals are there, then you can use to. Inu to neko. So there's no cows, there's no goats, there's only cats and dogs. Very specifically, then you can say inu to neko ga takusan imasu. But this is just examples. Lots of animals in general. For example, inu and neko. So it depends on the situation. To is exhaustive list. Only those things are there. Ya is inexhaustive. They're just examples. Hi. Together, yes. We don't combine. So some particles we never combine. Some particles we have to combine. We can combine. So no, knowing wa is a complicated story. I'm not coming into that. But wa plus ga never happens. You never combine wa and ga, right? Whether they come before. We don't combine wa, ga, and mo also. Never combined. But you can combine ni plus any one of these. That is usually wa or mo. You won't usually combine ni with ga. So ni plus wa or mo does exist. In this place also. For example, pasokon wa gakkou ni mo ie ni mo arimasu. Computers are there in school also, at home also. So you can use in two different locations, you can use mo. When you use wa along with ni, it shows something narrow, right? Like very specifically in this location I'm talking. I don't know about other places, but here, this is the situation. So for example, I want to say in India, we follow rules like this, or we don't follow rules like this. Indo ni wa arimasu. Indo ni wa arimasen. Specifically India, I don't know about other countries. So it's more narrow. When you just say Indo ni, it's like in India. Maybe other countries also, I'm not talking about it. I don't know. But this is like so specific, only in India. So adding that wa shows that narrow pointed conversation about that thing. Hi.
Like in a sentence like watashi no ie ni wa neko desu means
Neko ga imasu.
Neko ga imasu. There are cats in my house.
Yes.
So that watashi no ie ni itself shows that I am only talking about my house.
It may not be that narrow. So you're just saying generically, there are cats in my house. But for example, there's a conversation where people are talking about dogs. And then you will say, oh, but in my house, I have cats. It's like narrowly showing some different thing in one situation. That would be the kind of place where it's always in a bigger context that you use this niwa. So in Tanaka-san's case, she's showing some contrast between her place as opposed to other places. I don't know, maybe other locations are different, but in my place, there's lots of dogs and cats. She's very specifically pointing it out. You can omit the wa. Grammatically, it's fine. But saying that gives that kind of message. Exactly. Exactly. It's extra stress. Exactly in my area, it's like this. Hi. Good questions. Daijoubu desu ka? Any other questions? Hi. Hi.
That Takusan is a adverb.
Yes.
So can we use a lot of people? So Takusan no hito, a lot of people.
Takusan no hito, yes, we can say like that. Yes.
It is an adverb and now we are.
We can combine it like that. But hito ga takusan imasu is a more natural way of saying it. Takusan also has a noun form, so it does do that. But this is more natural. So hito ga takusan imasu. Using takusan with a verb, it's a more natural way of saying it. Hi. So takusan goes with verbs and adjectives. Totemo generally goes only with adjectives because totemo indicates degree. The extent to which this quality exists. The heat, the extent of the heat is very much. So we use totemo only with adjectives. Daijoubu desu ka? Hi. Dewa, ne, those of you who read, and I think everybody read, took part in the reading. So, otsukaresama deshita. Hi. I also want you to take a minute. It's been around a month, a little over a month since you started, and many of you are reading very comfortably. So I want you to take a minute to congratulate yourself for how you've come, how far you've come with Japanese in a short period of time. Some of you probably did not know hiragana or katakana at all when you started. So it's that much more progress. So every once in a while, check in and tell yourself, I know there's always a lot more to learn. Even for me, there's so much to learn. Every time I speak to a Japanese person, there's like, oh, I didn't think of using that word. It's always a learning process. So don't feel disheartened if something is there that you don't know or you don't understand. Try to take stock of what you have learned, how far you have come. Yes. So for my part, I'm very proud of everyone, and I'm hoping to see you continue with the same enthusiasm as we proceed, because it will get harder. I won't lie to you. Languages get harder as you progress. The beginning is actually the easy part because it's all new and fun and fresh. So try to have that enthusiasm. If you like watching things in Japanese, listening to things in Japanese, start doing that. Even if you understand only one word here or there, it's enough. Take a lot of pleasure in that one word here and there. Yes, have fun with it. So I'm saying this because we're going to start something very new today, that is verbs. We have done a little bit of verbs already, but what we're going to do now is really dive into it. It's a lot of new vocabulary that this comes with, but I hope it will be fun because we're going to learn new ways of saying things. Yes? Sumimasen. Now, verbs, I don't want to talk too much grammar right away, but basically we use verbs to do one of two things. Of course, to show actions, right? Doing things, eating, sleeping, walking, talking, all of that is action. You also use verbs in English to show feelings or states, like to say, I feel hungry. The word feel is a verb, right? I was feeling sad, right? So feelings or states can also be expressed in verbs. I'll go into that later, but we're going to focus on the action part because that's more interesting. Now let's actually put them in sentences, right? We'll start reading some sentences right away. ここはどこですか?
本屋。
はい。
Bookstore.
ここは本屋です。ここは本屋ですね。はい。You want to say, Raja is in the bookstore.
ラジャさんは
本屋に
本屋で
います。ね。ラジャさんは本屋にいます。or 本屋の中にいます。ね。You want to say, there are lots of books in the bookstore. 本屋に
本屋に
本がたくさんあります。So these are some of the kinds of sentences we can already make. 本屋に本があります。たくさんあります。or ラジャさんは本屋にいます。You can, of course, not make Raja the topic. 本屋にラジャさんがいます。Who is there in the bookstore? Raja is there in the bookstore. For that, you would use this sentence. Okay? So these are the kinds of sentences we can say. Now let's make it more interesting. You want to talk about Raja going to the bookstore, right? To go. The verb to go, it's an action, right? Right. Dozo. You can ignore the kanji. Just don't mind this. Raja-san wa honya ni ikimasu. Ikimasu. As you can see, it's ending with masu. Until now, when we were using adjectives or nouns, it was always ending with desu, right? Kono enpitsu wa nagai desu. Or if you want to be plain, just nagai. But arimasu and imasu, when we were using that, we were ending with masu. That is the polite ending of verbs. Anytime you see that, you know you're listening to a verb. So Raja-san wa honya ni ikimasu. He's going to the bookstore. He's reading a book. Dozo. How do you pronounce this? Very good. Finally, it appeared. Raja-san wa hon o yomimasu.
Raja-san wa hon
Hai. Hon o
mimasu.
yomimasu. Yomimasu. To read. To read. And we'll take one more example. Say he wants to buy the book. Right? Dozo. Raja-san wa hon.
Raja-san wa
Hon o
hon
kaimasu.
hon kaimasu.
Hai. So ikimasu means to go. Yomimasu means to read. Kaimasu means to buy. To buy. So in this, you would have noticed, of course, that particles, right? Honya ni ikimasu. Now, until now, ni was used to mean in or at, right? The books are in the bookstore. But here, it's go to the bookstore, right? The meaning is slightly different. The ni particle used over here is a different ni particle. I mean, the sound is the same, the appearance is the same, the function is different. This ni marks the destination of an action. Ikimasu is the action, to go. And the destination of that action, where am I going? Honya. So it's like to in English, basically. What you're marking with to is, I went to school, right? It's where you went. So, Raja-san wa honya ni ikimasu. Generally, you can remember using this ni together with arimasu and imasu. Be in, be at, to exist. With ikimasu, it's to, go to a location. And in this case, Raja-san wa hon o yomimasu. Raja-san wa hon o kaimasu. This o particle, it's a new thing, right? We haven't seen it until now. This is one of the main usages of this particle. It is the object marker. It's easy to remember because it's O sound. O is object marker. And the object of a verb, right? Now, you have two things involved with a verb generally, actually up to three things. You have the agent, the person actually enacting that action. Who's doing these actions? Raja-san. The person doing the action is the subject. The thing that receives the action is the object. What is he doing it to? What is he doing it upon? What is he reading? What does he buy? That is the hon. Not all verbs have objects. For example, arimasu and imasu don't have object. The subject itself exists. That's it. It doesn't exist on to something else. A lot of verbs like this, everyday verbs that we use, tend to have objects. The best way to find does it have an object or not is ask the question what. What do I read? What do I buy? You don't ask what do I go. So it doesn't have an object. It only has a destination. So that's the easiest way to find it. And if you're talking about that object, you should mark it with O. You can leave it out of the sentence if you want. If you want. Sometimes we don't say, like eating, right? I ate breakfast. Sometimes you just say, yes, I ate. I don't say what I ate, but of course I must have eaten something. Eat has to have an object. You cannot read nothing. You have to have a text. You cannot buy nothing. You have to have a product. These always have objects, but you may not talk about it in your sentence. It's up to you. That object is marked with O particle. Like with everything else in Japanese, the particle comes after the thing that it's marking. In all cases, we do that. Particles always come after. Now, all of these are some of the verbs we have seen so far. Can we quickly read them all? Hai. Arimasu? Ikimasu? Yomimasu? Kaimasu? Imasu. Of this, arimasu and imasu came in lesson 4. What do they all have in common? Masu. The last two hiragana wa nan desu ka? Masu. Masu. It's the polite form of verbs. So polite form for nouns is desu. Watashi wa nihongo no gakusei desu. Gakusei is a noun. Adjective is also desu. Verbs are masu. It's fixed. From this level till the last level of Japanese, this rule won't change. Yes, it's a fixed thing. Now, masu is the affirmative form. I go, I am, I exist, I buy, I read. The negative form, I don't go. Hi, do you remember? Very good. Masen. So ikimasu becomes ikimasen. Ikimasen. So if I want to say, I don't go to school. Watashi wa ikimasen. Very good. We're going to put the location before in Japanese, right? Watashi wa gakkou ni ikimasen. Very good. So iru, imasu, arimasu become imasen, arimasen. Yomimasu. Negative is yomimasen. For example, I don't read newspapers. Watashi wa shinbun o yomimasen. Very good. So shinbun is the object. What do I not read? It's newspaper. So I have to mark it with O particle. Shinbun o yomimasen. Kaimasen is don't buy. So basically, masu becomes masen in negative form. This is polite negative. We're not learning anything plain just yet. Let's just quickly practice changing everything into negative form. Dozo. Imasu? Imasen. So for example, don't read the next one yet. For example, Raja is not in the room. Raja-san wa heya ni imasen. Excellent. Raja-san wa heya ni imasen. Hai. Ikimasu?
Ikimasen.
I don't go. Hai. Arimasu?
Arimasen.
Arimasen. Yomimasu?
Yomimasen.
Yomimasen.
Kaimasen.
Imasu?
Kaimasen.
Kaimasen. I don't buy a new computer. New. Atarashi pasokon. O kaimasen. Watashi wa atarashii pasokon o kaimasen. I don't buy new computers. I always get used ones. I always get stuff from my elder sibling, something like that. Kaimasen. I won't buy. Hi. Shimasu? What's the negative be? Shimasen. Shimasu means to do. Like in Tamil, it's pandrathu. Right? So to do something is shimasu. Negative is shimasen. I don't do. Right? I don't do my homework. Homework in Japanese is? Dai.
Shukudai.
Don't do my homework. Watashi wa?
Watashi wa shukudai.
Shukudai. Oh? Shimasen. Watashi. Shukudai o shimasen. Please don't do that way. Hi. How about this? Hi. Sorry.
Dai means table in the kitchen.
It's not that dai. It's different.
These are different kanji.
Yeah, it's a different kanji. It's two kanji, shuku and dai. It's a different one. Hi. Sumimasen, dozo. Kimasu means to come. It's the opposite of ikimasu. Ikimasu is to go, right? You use go when you're not already at that location. You use come when you're already at that location. For example, I have reached school. I'm talking to my friend. When are you coming to school? I won't ask her when are you going to school because I'm at school, right? So come is towards the speaker. Go is away from the speaker. Kimasu. Negative is?
Kimasen.
Kimasen. Kimasen. Ikimasu, ikimasen. Kimasu, kimasen. Hi. He doesn't come. Hi, dozo.
I didn't understand that the polite and negative form are same.
As in?
Repeat it again, Sensei.
How do you mean?
I didn't understand much about polite and negative forms. Sensei, can you repeat it?
That is, whenever we want to say we don't do that action, we can use this form. It's still polite. That is, we're not learning plain form. So for now, only this. This is, we do the action, we don't do the action. That's all. When we come to plain, we'll talk about this again. No problem. Daijoubu desu ka?
Daijoubu desu.
Hi. So you're okay with the practical aspects of verbs, right? It's not that complicated just now. It will get though. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. When I close it, I will save it. Don't worry. I have it in mind. So just a little bit of theory. It's not theory. It's just something for you to learn the pattern of verbs in Japanese. Now, in Japanese, actually, never mind Japanese, in any language, you have this concept called conjugation. Has anyone heard of it? Yes, anyone who's learned a foreign language might know this word. What is conjugation? Yes? Adding something sometimes, yeah, adding something. It refers to changes that we make to words for various purposes. Those changes often indicate tense. In English, it also indicates number. For example, it's different for he eats versus they eat. Right? The word eat looks different depending on the number of people who are doing it. So conjugation, in each language, it varies. In some languages, you conjugate based on gender also. If it's a girl doing the action, it sounds different. It's a boy doing it, it's different. Hindi and many languages that work like Hindi are a fantastic example of that. French, German, Italian, Spanish, all of these languages have gender. Japanese does not have gender, thank God. So its gender is very difficult. So like that in other languages, in Japanese, these are the core things that we conjugate for. Either polite form or plain form. Right? You change it back and forth. Affirmative form or negative form. You do or you don't do that action. Or it exists or it doesn't exist. Right? It's there for adjectives also. It's big or not big. We didn't learn it yet. We will learn it in lesson 9, but I'm just telling you, right? It's expensive or not expensive. There's a difference between saying not expensive and cheap, right? You might feel 500 rupees is not expensive for something, but that doesn't mean 500 rupees is cheap, yeah? So negative has its uses. We will be learning that. Of course, tense. How many tenses in English language? 4 basic tenses, core, yeah, but actually it's 12 tenses. In Japanese, you have basically past, non-past. That's it. Either the action is over or it's not yet over. It's the core distinction in Japanese. They do have a progressive form that's separate. That is an action in progress. You're doing that action. Apart from that, you basically have something is not done yet or something is finished. So these are what we will be learning in the upcoming lessons, little by little, not all at once. We're going to start easy. First, we're going to look at, and these are some English examples, right? English is actually quite complicated. I eat, he eats, right? This suddenly becomes eats. But when you come to negative, it loses that S. She does not eat. Why is it she does not eat? We don't know. They ate, we did not eat, right? It's changing to past, but if this becomes past, then this doesn't take past. We've learned all this nonsense when we were kids. English is a very messy language. I love English, but I'm just saying it's very messy. Compared to that, Japanese is actually very simple and straightforward. It may look confusing, but once you learn the pattern, it's the same pattern everywhere. For example, masu, it's non-past. It means either like present or future, right? It's affirmative. I understand. I can understand. Yeah, I get what you mean. I don't understand. What's the negative form? Wakarimasen. Wakarimasen. I don't understand. What's the past form? Wakarimashita. Wakarimashita. It's affirmative past. I understood. My understanding is ended. Right? It's over. In the past, I have registered your point and it's over. I have understood. Wakarimasu is something we use when it's like something general. Oh, I understand how you're feeling. I feel the same way. That's not going to change in the future. But when somebody gives you an order, says go arrange the cups on the table, okay, I've understood your order. You only take it in one time. So this is for something completed, over. This is for something generic. It keeps happening again and again. Those are some important distinctions we have. But basically, it's very simple, right? Masu, masen, mashita. I didn't put negative past here. We'll see it later. So before we understand how to apply this, there's some basic things we need to know. They're the types of verbs in Japanese. Actually, desu and deva arimasen are considered verbs, but it's the simplest type of verb. It's called a copula. It just shows yes or no, affirmative or negative. I am a teacher, I am not a teacher. Right? I am a student, I am not a student. I am an engineer, I am not an engineer. Yes or no, that's it. You can't show anything else with desu or deva arimasen. Then you have stative verbs. They show a state. Something exists or doesn't exist. Right? There is a table, there isn't a table. Raja is in the room, Raja is not in the room. This is also yes or no, but it doesn't show action. It shows a state of existence. Present, absence. Irukku illa. Now, when I say I am a teacher, I'm not a teacher, whether I'm there or not is not the point. Na enga irukeno, teacher a irukken. Right? It's my status. But this is my state. I am there or not there, presence or absence. Then you come into the next level, movement. Things are going, they're mobile, right? These two verbs fit in this category. Can you just read them? Hi. And? Kimas. Ikimas, kimas. To go and to come. There are others, like walking and running. All of these are considered movement verbs. We'll learn them later. The point is, they help you get from point A to point B. That's all the action does. And then you have proper action verbs, right? These are our standard how to live actions, like Habemasu, nomimasu, yomimasu. One more example that you saw earlier, to buy. Kaimasu. Okay. Actions, things you're doing, right? So these are the four core categories. Action verbs sometimes take on objects. What do I buy? What do I read? What do I drink? What do I eat? If you have an answer for that, that is marked with O. For example, I eat biryani. How can you say it? Yes, the what did you eat? Nani o tabemashita? Ka, right? You have to make it good. Nani o tabemashita ka? Watashi wa biryani o tabemasu. Past tense, tabemashita. I ate biryani. Ne? I had biryani. Or what did you drink? I had chocolate milk. Chocoreto milk o nomimashita. So you're actually doing actions to those objects. So these are the 4 core categories. Watashi wa shinbun o yomimasu. Yomimasen ne? I don't read newspapers, and so on. Now the important thing, all that aside, movement verb versus action verb is an important contrast. We'll come back to it later. Then the next few things are very important, right? One, the forms of verbs. You basically have the dictionary form, or what is known as Jisho. Right? Jisho is dictionary, right? It's the basic form for the plain form of a verb versus the masu form, which is the polite form of the verb. Now, Jisho form, we're going to learn that in this lesson properly. The Jisho form of all verbs end with u sound. This is the characteristic of verbs in Japanese. Like you learned, the characteristic of E adjective is ending with E sound, right? It's not E adjective if it doesn't end with E. Like that, it's not a verb unless it ends in U sound in plain form or masu in polite form. For example, there are verbs ending in all these U sounds. Hi, these are some plain form examples. Can you read this? Aru, iku, yomu, aru, iku, yomu, ending with u sound. Right? It's the characteristic of all verbs in Japanese. Let's see the difference. You can read the first sentence and then the second sentence.
Hon ga arimasu.
Versus
Hon ga aru.
Aru. They mean the same exact thing. There's no difference in the meaning of these two sentences. It's just that you're being polite to your listener when you use arimasu. It's like soft to their ears when you use masu form. This is like plain or casual to their ears when you use this. There's no difference in meaning. Absolutely none. There are books. That's it. Here's another example. Bozo. Neko ga imasu. Iru. Neko ga imasu. Neko ga iru. There is a cat. Hai, dozo.
Gatsuko.
Gakko.
Gakko ni imasu. Gakko ni imasu. Gakko ni iku.
Gakko ni ikimasu means go to school, right? Somebody. Watashi wa gakko ni ikimasu. I'm going to school. Gakko ni iku. It's the plain form. The meaning is the same. No difference. It just depends on who you're talking to. Now, the last step in all this is dividing these verbs into different groups. So you might have noticed there's a pattern in the sounds, but you just don't know what that pattern is. The secret to that pattern is this. There are 3 broad groups in Japanese verbs. The first group is known as Dozo. Godan.
Doshi. Godan doshi.
Doshi means verbs. Like keiyoshi means adjective, doshi means verb. Godan doshi is 5-level sounding verbs. Godan means 5 levels. It's not important. I'll explain all that later. But Godan doshi, or the first group of verbs, ichi group no doshi, the first group, they basically end with any u sound Then you have ni group, second group, which are known as
Ichi
Ichidan
Ichidan doshi.
doshi.
Ichidan doshi.
It's the same doshi, verbs, but instead of godan, it's not 5 level, but rather 1 level. Okay? Ichidan doshi, group 2 is known as Ichidan doshi, meaning it has only 1 level. This is because they always end with ru sound in jisho form. I'm still talking only about plain or jisho form. You can use masu form to tell them apart, but it's more difficult. It's better to go from jisho form. So in plain or jisho form, these will end in any u sound. But this group, it always ends in only 1 sound, ru. For example, this is iru. Another example is taberu. Another example, neru. All of these belong to the same group. They always end in ru. Now, why do you need to know this? When you change their form into polite, past, all of those things, this matters. The pattern is the same for ichi group verbs. The pattern is the same among ni group verbs. So learning which group the verb is in will help you know what rule I should use, what pattern I should follow. There is one more group. This is the easiest group. It's known as, you don't have to know this, but just so you want to know, fukisoku. Fukisoku doshi. Fukisoku means irregular. That is, it doesn't follow any rules. In other words, they're special. They're the exceptions. There's only 2 verbs in all of Japanese language, from N5 till N1, from CJAT 1 till CJAT 5 level, whatever Japanese you learn, there's only 2 verbs in this group. That is, kuru, to come, and I'll move this, suru, to do. The polite forms for these were kimas and shimas. That's it. Only 2 verbs. You just memorize this. If you in French, they have like 16 exception verbs, irregular verbs. So this is kind in comparison. Telling these 2 groups apart is the challenge. This is easy. You just memorize kuru and suru. These 2 are the challenge. Now, why does it matter? Coming to that in just a second. How do you tell apart ichi group or ni group? Now, you must have noticed something. Ni is always ending in ru. Ichi will also sometimes end in ru. Then how do I know? I see a verb ending in ru. How do I know if it's ichi group or ni group? Again, just like with adjectives, you have to use the sound before ru. For ni group doshi, the sound before ru always has to be e sound or a sound. For example, please read that. Iru, it's e sound, right? How about this? Taberu. This is a sound. Taberu. It's a fixed pattern. It will always be true. So look at the sound before ru. If it's e or a, mostly it will be ni group. How about ichi group? These are examples of ichi group of verbs ending with ru. They're not ni group. Can you just read that? Suwaru. It means to sit. What's the sound before ru? A sound. It's a sound. That is, it's wa, but the vowel is what's important. It's a. This sukuru. What's that sound? It's the last one is
sound.
Noru. It's a o sound.
O sound.
So e and a, ni group. A, u, and o, ichi group. It's a fixed pattern. It's like a rule. Mostly you'll always see this. And also anything that doesn't end in ru. If it doesn't end in ru, it's always ichi group. Like iku, yomu, kau. These are actually The plain forms of ikimasu, yomimasu, kaimasu. We just saw those verbs, right? This is the plain form. Iku, yomu, kau. It doesn't end with ru. So it has to be ichi group. Now, why am I telling you all this? It's because to change it from plain to polite or polite to plain, to change it from any form to another form, past form, negative form, you will need to know the group of the verb. For these, you already know plain and polite. Can you just tell me? Arimasu is? What is the plain form? Arimasu?
Aru.
Aru. Ikimasu?
Iku.
Iku. Iku. Yomimasu?
Yomu.
Yomu.
Kaimasu? It's actually kau. Kau. Imasu. Ragatanga heyani imasu.
Iru.
Iru. Right? These are the dictionary forms. How am I creating this? How am I getting here? Can you guess? What's happening? What change is happening? Very nice, very observant. First off, we're dropping the mas because that's polite. We're not being polite there. We're dropping the mas. The remaining sound after mas, we're changing that in the same consonant group. If it's ra, ra, ri, ru, re, ro, we're changing from that ri sound to the ru sound. Ikimasu, drop the mas, ki, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, ku. Yomimasu, mu, ma, mi, mu, me, mo. Kaimasu, ai, ue, o. So, kau. What? This last one. Imasu, iru. What's happening? It's different, right? First, dropping the masu. That's there. Then what else is happening?
So
Ri is turned into ru and ki.
But that's E, right? There's no re, there's only E.
Rupture.
Don't think complicated terms. You're just adding ru. This ru is that characteristic ru of second group verbs. These are all first. So with this, we can tell the pattern. First group, the rule for changing from polite to plain is drop the mas, change from E sound to U sound. What about coming from plain to polite? Change it from U sound to E sound and add mas. Right? So ikimas, iku, yomimas, yomu, kaimas, kau, arimas, aru. Now this imas alone, it's not following that pattern because it belongs to ni group. I'll just go to that slide. Hi. Yes. So here, ichi group of verbs, right? I've written it over here. Ichi group of verbs. The pattern from plain to polite is change the U sound to E sound and add mas. Vice versa, drop the mas, change E sound to U sound. Ni group of verbs, drop the ru and add mas, or drop the mas and add ru. That ru is always there in ni group because you're always adding it. San group, the third group, fukid sokudoshi. You change the form completely. That's why they are irregular. In all of these cases, you would have noticed the first sound is not changing, right? The ka is ka, yo is yo, e, e. It's never changing. But in this group alone, even the very first sound will change. It's completely different from the other patterns. So mostly we just memorize for this pattern. Don't try to look for a pattern. For this, it will be a pattern. Then the next conjugation you learn, it won't be a pattern. So just memorize this. Here, you don't have to memorize all of these. You can just remember the rule. Yes? 大丈夫ですか?
大丈夫です。
難しいですか? ちょっと, a little. A little? Yeah, you just have to learn the rule basically and get used to this thing. So what I have is a small suggestion for everyone to practice this. If you go to the back of your textbook, right, you have a very extensive vocabulary list in the appendix. It looks like this.
Hi, something.
Here, let me share that. Like this, a big tabular column. Yeah. It starts with verbs. Yes. Now, if you notice, there are 3 columns. Within this one table, there are 3 columns. The first column is the word, the actual word. The second column has a number in it. What do you think that number is? The group. Group, exactly. So ichi, mostly you'll see ichi or ni. San won't appear except for 2 verbs. And then you have the meaning of the verb. You don't have to memorize all of these verbs right now. It's a lot. This is just an idea for you to practice. You can go in here. It tells you the verb group. You can just practice changing it into polite form. All of these are in plain or jisho form, right? So you can just go in, if you don't know how to practice, just look up any verb and try it on your own. So let's try it for the very first one, right? What is the plain form? Okay. How do you change it to polite form? What is it? Ichi group or ni group? Ichi group. How do you know it's ichi group apart from the book telling you? It's ending with u sound and not ru sound, right? So how do you change it to polite? You change the u to e sound, right? Aimasu. 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 It's to meet someone. Aimasu. I'll take a random other verb. Maybe we'll go into sa group right over here on the left or right side. The very first verb. Can you read that? Under sa? Saku. Saku means to bloom, to blossom. Saku. Ichi group or ni group? Ichi. How do you know? U sound. It doesn't end with ru. So saku. Polite form wa nan desu ka? Who becomes? Saki. Very good. Sakimasu. Taki, ku, ke, ko. You have to keep it in the same consonant group that it's already in. If it's not a consonant, if it's a vowel, right? So basically the same row. You're keeping it in the same row. So sakimasu is the polite form. Now I'm going to give you a random verb. Don't search for it in the book. Hi. This is actually, you learned it with the kanji. Yasumu. Yasumu. What does it mean? Yeah. Yasumi is holiday. Yasumu means to rest, to take a break, right? So yasumu. Ichi group or ni group? Very good. It's ichi group, right? What's the polite form? Very good. Yasumimasu. 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 To rest. Watashi wa nichiyoubi ni yasumimasu. I rest on Sundays, right? So that's just an example. So this is how you can get a hang of it. Now I'll give you one last example. Yes, under ka, don't look for it though. Kaeru. Actually, this is a bad example. I'll come back to this later. Oshieru, I'll do this one under O. Oshieru, oshieru. Ichi group or ni group? Shiemasu. Oshiemasu. What is the rule? Ichi group versus ni group? Now, oshieru ends with ru. It could be ichi or ni group. What's the sound before Oshieru? The ru in Oshie, right? So A sound or E sound means it should be ni group. Okay? So Oshieru, drop the ru and add mas. Oshie mas. It's like taberu, to eat. Tabe mas. Okay? That'll be the easiest group. Trust me, till you finish learning Japanese, ni grupo will be your best friend. So easy, but you have to know if it's ni grupo or not. That's the only trick. Yes? Daijoubu desu ka? Any question? Yes?
We should have like we add in birth we have plus ing means it will become there.
Yeah, it's there in Japanese. Slightly different though. We'll see how to use it.
Understand that each group and all, how to convert it to polite.
Well, you can talk after. I'll dismiss the others. If they don't have other class questions, we can discuss after class. Is it fine? It's a little complicated, that's why. Hi, any other questions? Daijoubu desu ka? Yes. So your homework. Yes. Konshu no shukudai. Konshu no shukudai wa lesson 7 no kanji. Lesson 6 to lesson 7 no renshu. Right? Practice exercises for lesson 6 and 7. If you haven't finished 6, please catch up. 6 and 7 plus kanji. Lesson 8, please review what we have discussed. When you come back next week, I will be quizzing you on verb groups. Daijoubu desu ne? Hai. Dewa minasan, owarimasu. Ne? Hai. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Mata laishu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Hai. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu, sensei.
Hai, arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu, sensei.
Hai, arigatou gozaimasu. Mata laishu. Hai. Announce desu ka? Sumimasen, shirimasen deshita.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to participate in the annual Japanese Night event. It is an event conducted by the Consulate General of Japan. So most of the about Japanese Night, most of the South Indian Japanese schools will be participating in the event to perform some cultural activities such as dances and skits and so on. So Hayakawa will be participating in that event as well, and we would need volunteers to perform the activity. And so the event would be happening on the 14th of September. The timing would be 4 to 9 p.m. But because we need some rehearsals, it's on a Saturday, and we need to be there by 2 o'clock. And so in between this time and the event, I think we'll be having 1 or 2 meetings. So that will also be happening on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're interested in participating in the event, kindly give your name. You can either WhatsApp us or
you can give the name in the admin downstairs. So just to give
Sure.
a bigger picture, this Japanese night, it happens every year. They did stop in between due to COVID, but they've continued in the last 2 or 3 years. Basically, various Japanese related stuff in Chennai and outside of Chennai, also Tamil Nadu in general, they come together for this, and schools and colleges do performances like skits and quizzes and stuff. It's actually really fun. And it's like a team activity. We get together as Hayakawa, as a team. We will put up some kind of performance. Now, we need people not just for the performance part, but for other things also. So if you're scared of going on stage, you can volunteer for other things. But if you're not scared of going on stage, if you have some, acting talent, or you just generally, you don't have to be an actor. Okay, I'm promising you this. I've done this. It's nothing difficult. It'll be fun. If you like being involved in group activities, then you should definitely join us, because we will meet people from across batches. It's a great way to connect with other people. Since all of you are coming here, and those of you who are online, you're not coming, but if you're interested, you can join. Since you're here anyway, it would be great. We will have a few practice sessions here at Hayakawa. And then on the day, of course, you'll have to report. It usually happens at Rani Sidhe Hall. It's near Gemini Flyover. It's really fun. Has anyone here participated before? No, right? Yeah. Now, sometimes we have like friends and relatives who have pitched in. So really encourage you if you like having that kind of enjoyable, fun time with peers your age, meeting new people, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's on a Saturday. It's in September. So we still have a couple of months, but we start planning now because it's a really big event. Like all kinds of big people, like the Consulate General of Japan will be there. So we have to make sure it's perfect. And we have only like, it's a 10-minute thing. We'll be there all evening to watch the other performances. But our thing will only be about 10 to 15 minutes. So you don't have to be scared that, oh, it's a half an hour performance, 1 hour, nothing. 10 minutes and your role in that will probably be 2 minutes. So please volunteer if you're interested. And I look forward to that. Usually I'm also involved, so it would be fun if I could also join and have fun with you, all of you. Some of my previous batches have also joined, so I've had a blast. I think I've been in 4 Japanese nights already, 3 or 4. It's exciting. It's so fun. So please join. I look forward to that. You can give your name at the admin downstairs if you're already sure that you want to participate, or you can always WhatsApp them afterwards. Yes. Any questions about Japanese night? There would be some other things too, like little kiosks that they set up. And last time we had people coming in cosplay and taking photos and things like that too. So if you're generally interested in anime also, it's like a little anime convention too. はい。ありがとうございました。